In this video, we're going to look at a simple little JavaScript program and the associated web page that allows the user to enter their GPA and will determine if they'll graduate and if they'll graduate with honors. So they're going to enter GPA. This is a number input. They'll enter some GPA, 1.6, and if they hit the button, that will tell them that they won't graduate. They need a 2.0. If they get above a 2.2, if they get above a 2, they will graduate. A 2 or higher, they will graduate. And if they get up to, say, a 3.5, they're going to graduate cum laude. That's 3.4. 3.6 to 3.7, that's magna cum laude. And then above a 3.8 will be a maximum cum laude. And then if they manage to enter a -7, we'll just yell at them. They enter something bigger than a 4.0, we will yell at them. If they enter something that's not a number, I can type an E in a number, but it's part of a float, but it's not sort of the scientific notation sort of thing in E. So E, I can type in a number input, but it's not by itself a number, and so it will yell. So we have some yelling, we have some clearing if they change the answer, we have some determining of any, if you're graduating and if you're graduating with honors, and if you are, what level of honors. Okay, so that's what this little program does. Okay, I have it posted on my website if anybody wants it. There it is. Title. Here's my little bit of styling. The background color was dark khaki. The color was dark blue with a little bit of space around things. The input, the button, and the paragraph have a little bit of extra spacing around them. The button is reversing these colors. And if I hover over the button, it's sort of reversing these colors, but changing them a little bit. So if I so right now, the button's blue background color and color are reversed from the page. And then if I hover over, it reverses again and goes a little bit brighter khaki instead of dark khaki. Okay, so that is my very little style. Okay, so let me collapse the style here. There we go. I have a label for them to enter their GPA and a number type input for them to enter. I have the minimum of 0, the max of 4, and the step 0.1. So if you're using the up-down arrow, it tries to keep you between the 0 and the 4, but you can come in here and type other things. Okay, I have, when you change anything in the box, it's calling a function called myClear. So we'll see that in this text in the script area below. I have a button. It has calls a function GPA calc. I usually don't use this word return anymore, but this was an older program, so it still has that vestige of that. This paragraph is a place for me to display the result, and that's the bottom of the page. And now I'm into the script. And so in the script, I had two functions: one to determine the GPA or from the GPA, not calculate the GPA, but from the GPA determine the graduation status, and a clear. So the clear is the easy one. So let's do that first. That was called by the on input of the number. So any change to the data in the number will call myClear, and myClear goes to that paragraph and just fills it in with dash, dash, dash. So if I change that, it becomes dash, dash, dash. And if I graduate and then I change it, it goes back to dash, dash, dash. Okay. So now here we are in this function, then is called by the button click. And we are going to the page, going to the input with the ID num GPA, grabbing its value, and we're parsing it as a float right away. So even though the number input only allows us, for the most part, to type numbers, a user to type numbers, what is brought in is a string. And so if we want to do numbery things to it, it's sort of best if we parse it right away. Okay. Now, a lot of what we're going to do is be doing, is it greater than or less than? And so we could probably get away with a lot of this without parsing it as a float, but I just like the idea of bring it in, establish it as a number right away. Then I have my something went wrong questions. So I say, if is NaN, is a built-in method, and that's if it's not a number. So that is part of a float, is there's not a number designation as part of a float. So this, if what was brought in could not be interpreted as a simple number, then it will, then this is NaN will produce a true. We're going to yell, please enter a number. We're going to give the input, the number input, the focus, so the person is ready to sort of type in a new, hopefully better result, and we're returning. We're leaving the function, not doing anything more, so no more questions asked. If it is a number, then we could also sort of do this with else's. But for these like data wrong questions, I just like to return and leave the function. But we're going to leave the function so we don't do any of this stuff. So this, in some sense, could be in the else of this first if. Okay. If the GPA is less than 0, we're going to again yell, give the number input the focus, and get out. And if the GPA is greater than 4, we are going to yell, set up for them to change the answer to something reasonable, and get out. And you could say you might want to clear out the answer, but I prefer as a user interface to sort of leave the bad answer there so that they will sort of see what they've done wrong. Okay. This commented out part was, what if we wanted to just find out if they were graduating magna cum laude? So they might have had a higher GPA, they might have had a lower GPA. I just want to test one given range. And so I can do that using the Boolean and, which is these two ampersands. So I can ask if this is asking if 3.6 is less than the GPA, or read the other way, the GPA is greater than 3.6, and the GPA is less than 3.8. So then that's a way to test it in a range. New programmers often forget that these are sort of two possibly independent conditions, and so you must repeat the full condition. So these both conditions, both questions, are about the GPA, but I must repeat the variable GPA in both conditions. That's something that a lot of new programmers will get wrong. And some languages support something like that, but not JavaScript. Okay. And then I was just saying that was a simple question of just, if we just wanted to know magna cum laude and nothing else. Okay. But that's commented out, so we don't really do that. And now I'm going to start out and figure out this range. And so I want to step through the range, and I like to go in some order, either from the lowest to the highest or the highest to the lowest. And so we only get here if it's proper data, GPA data, which is between 0 and 4. And I'm going to go down, start at the highest and go down. So if the GPA was greater than 3.8, you're maximum cum laude. else if, so I'm only going to get here if this question was false, then I'm going to ask the next range of data. If the GPA is greater than 3.6, then I'm magna cum laude. Now, comparing that to up here, I needed 2 questions to figure out if you were magna cum laude, if that's the only question I'm asking. But here I'm asking a sequence of questions, but this is sort of, at this stage, I've already asked 2 questions, so it is equivalent to what's up here, because first I've asked if you're greater than or equal to 3.8, and I only get to this else if that's false. And then, so I'm less than 3.8, and then I'm greater than or equal to 3.6. If that's true, I say magna cum laude. So this, if this was false and this was true, I'm magna cum laude. If this was false and this was false and this is true, I'm cum laude. And again, I only get to these because of the else. I only get to these if the beginning thing was false. So if this was false, if greater than 3.8 was false and greater than or equal to 3.6 was false and greater than or equal to 3.4 was false, I ask this next question, am I greater than or equal to a 2? If that's true, then I am graduating. I don't have any honors, but I'm graduating. And then the final else is all of these were false, which means, and I only got to this sequence, that if else if sequence, if I was between 0 and 4 to begin with. So I remember my ifs up here, I was throwing out the bad data. So I only get to these if I'm between 0 and 4. And if I answered all these questions false, and I get down to this final else, that means that my GPA is less than 2, and I don't graduate. So that is just a way to handle this sort of set of mutually exclusive conditions, these data ranges, and displaying the results, and also clearing a result if the data changed. Now, it's possible to forego the button and put this and make this function the function called by the input, and we'll get the sort of display of the results as they're changing the drop down, not drop down, but the numerical input. So that's another way to go, sort of to get rid of the button and just sort of have this function, the on input event, call the function that determines graduation status and display it. So that's another way to go. That can be awkward if these questions are coming into play. So if you're changing it and it's not a number, these kind of questions can be a little awkward without the button. But on the other hand, if things are good, hitting the button is an extra thing for the user to do, and so maybe that's not the best choice. But it's you as an interface designer to make that decision and see what you like best. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you in this example. Thanks for your attention.